Do-hyun Park walked through the quiet hallway of Stellar Maintenance Facility Delta 9, his footsteps echoing against the metal floor. He had just finished his regular check of the reactor core, and everything was working perfectly fine. That's why the sudden blaring of evacuation alarms made no sense to him. Red lights flashed along the corridors as he ran toward the main control room. His tool belt bounced against his hip with each step. The station's AI system, ARA, was speaking through the speakers, but her voice sounded wrong, broken and full of static. Emergency evacuation required. All personnel, proceed to escape pods immediately. Do-hyun checked his tablet. None of the system readings showed any serious problems. The reactor was stable, life support was normal, and there were no hull breaches. Something wasn't right. He reached the control room's observation window just in time to see the first escape pod launch into space. Inside the control room, he could see Commander Taiwan Lee directing the evacuation. The commander's face showed no signs of panic, which seemed strange during an emergency. "Commander," Do-hyun called through the intercom. "The reactor readings are normal. What's happening?" Commander Lee looked up at the window. For a moment, their eyes met. The commander's face showed no surprise, no confusion, only a cold, calculated look that made Do-hyun's stomach turn. The commander turned away without responding and walked to the next room. Do-hyun rushed to follow, but his access card was suddenly denied. He watched through the windows as more crew members hurried to the escape pods. Some looked confused, others scared, but they all followed orders. Wait. Do-hyun tried the emergency override codes on several doors, but none worked. His access had been completely cut off from critical areas. He ran to the nearest computer terminal, trying to understand what was happening. The security feeds showed Commander Lee talking to Security Chief Sang-min Kang. Their conversation had no audio, but Do-hyun could read their calm expressions. This was no emergency. This was planned. More escape pods launched. Do-hyun ran to the pod bay, his heart pounding. Only 2 pods remained. As he reached for the control panel, the doors sealed shut. Through the small window, he watched helplessly as the final pods ejected from the station, with Commander Lee and the last crew members inside. The station fell silent except for ARA's broken voice and the flashing red lights. Do-hyun returned to the computer terminal with shaking hands. The logs showed that Commander Lee had reported a critical reactor failure to corporate headquarters, a complete lie. "ARA," Do-hyun called out to the station's eye. "Run a full system diagnostic." "SICE, systems, failing. Multiple, critical, errors." Her voice crackled and faded, nothing like the smooth, helpful AI he'd worked with for the past 2 years. The terminal displayed a new message. "Life support systems failing. Estimated 6 hours of breathable air remaining." Do-hyun sat down hard in the nearest chair as the truth hit him. Commander Lee had deliberately damaged the station's systems and abandoned him here to die. He was alone on a failing space station with a broken AI, and only hours of air left. But Do-hyun was still alive, and he was good at his job, very good. He pulled up the station schematics on his tablet, his mind already forming a plan. If they thought a mere technician would quietly accept death in space, they had seriously underestimated both human determination and his technical skills. "All right, ARA," he said, standing up and checking his tool belt. "Let's see what they did to you in this station. We're not dying today." The red warning lights continued to flash as Do-hyun walked with purpose toward the maintenance bay. He had 6 hours to save himself and the station. It was time to show why humans had survived every challenge space had thrown at them so far. Do-hyun took a deep breath and looked at his tablet. 5 hours and 40 minutes of air left. He needed to work fast but stay calm. Panicking would only waste precious oxygen. "ARA," he called out to the station's eye again. "Can you show me the main power grid status?" "Power grid, 73 errors, critical, failure." The AI's voice sputtered and crackled. Each word sounded like it was being forced through broken machinery. Do-hyun walked to the main engineering room, his flashlight beam cutting through the dim emergency lighting. The backup generators were running, but barely. Someone had damaged them on purpose, making them look like they had failed naturally. He knelt next to the first generator and shone his light inside. The power couplings had been loosened, but not completely removed. If they had wanted the station to explode, they would have done more damage. No, they wanted it to die slowly, making it look like a tragic accident. Clever, Commander Lee, Do-hyun muttered as he tightened the couplings. But not clever enough. The generator hummed more strongly. One small victory, but he needed many more. Do-hyun moved through the station with purpose, checking each system. The life support was damaged but fixable. The water recycling system was shut down but not broken. Even the reactor, which was supposed to be failing, only had its monitoring systems tampered with. In the computer core, Do-hyun found more proof of sabotage. Someone had uploaded viruses into Era's systems, attacking her ability to think and speak. The damage was extensive but followed a pattern. They had wanted to hurt her enough to make her malfunction, but not enough to completely kill her. They needed you alive enough to send out distress calls, Do-hyun said to Era as he worked on her systems. They wanted you to report the station's death, but they didn't want you to be able to tell the truth. Truth, system corruption, help. Era's voice was still broken, but Do-hyun noticed it was slightly clearer than before. 4 hours of air remaining. Do-hyun wiped sweat from his forehead and kept working. He had found 37 damaged systems so far. Each one had been carefully sabotaged to look like an accident. Commander Lee had planned this for weeks, maybe months. The station's logs told the rest of the story. Small parts had gone missing. Maintenance requests had been ignored. Security cameras had glitched at important moments. Commander Lee had been setting this up for a long time, making sure the station would look like it had failed due to poor maintenance. They wanted me to take the blame, Do-hyun said as he fixed another system. A technician who couldn't keep the station running. The perfect scapegoat. 3 hours of air left. Do-hyun's hands were sore from working with tools, but he couldn't stop. Each repair gave him more time, more resources, more chance of survival. He had found enough evidence to prove this was sabotage, but that wouldn't matter if he died here. In the medical bay, he found more signs of the betrayal. Someone had taken most of the emergency supplies, but not all of them. Some had been hidden away, moved to unusual storage spots. Do-hyun remembered Jae-hyun, the quiet medical officer who always seemed to be watching Commander Lee with suspicious eyes. "Thank you, Jae-hyun," he said, finding a cache of emergency oxygen tanks. These would buy him precious extra hours. Do-hyun looked at his tablet again. The station's true condition was becoming clear. It wasn't dying. It had been poisoned, but poisons could be cured if you understood them. He had enough oxygen now to save himself and the station, but only if he worked smart and didn't waste time. "Era," he called out, his voice stronger now. "We're going to fix you first. Then together, we'll save this station and show them exactly how wrong they were to underestimate us." The AI's response was still garbled, but Do-hyun thought he heard something new in her broken voice. Do-hyun's flashlight beam cut through the darkness of Storage Section C, where the station kept its emergency supplies. Most of the shelves were empty, stripped bare during the evacuation. But something caught his eye. A small red mark on one of the wall panels, barely visible in the dim light. He walked closer and saw that the mark was actually an arrow, drawn with medical tape, the kind that Jae-hyun, the medical officer, always carried in her pocket. Do-hyun pressed his hand against the panel, and it moved slightly. It had been loosened. With careful fingers, he removed the panel. Behind it was a space that should have been empty. Instead, he found 3 large bags packed with supplies. On top was a tablet with a single message. "For whoever they leave behind, I've watched them planning something bad for weeks. I hope these help you survive. Jai-yun. Do-hyun's hands shook as he opened the bags. Inside the first one were oxygen tanks, enough for 2 extra days. The second bag held emergency rations, water packets, and basic medical supplies. But it was the third bag that made his eyes wide with surprise. Tools, he whispered, pulling out high-grade repair equipment. She didn't just pack supplies to survive. She packed supplies to fight back. He found more hidden panels marked with tiny red arrows. Each one held new treasures, spare parts, computer chips, and emergency batteries. Jai-yun had spent weeks hiding these supplies, preparing for the worst while pretending to go along with Commander Lee's plans. "Aira," Do-hyun called out as he gathered the supplies. "Someone believed in us enough to give us a chance." Message received. Hope detected. The AI's voice was still broken, but each word seemed a little stronger than before. Do-hyun spread the supplies on the floor of the main engineering room, organizing them by type. With these tools, he could do more than just survive. He could properly repair the station's damaged systems. Jai-yun had even included detailed maps showing which systems had been secretly damaged over the past month. She was watching them, Do-hyun said, studying the maps. Every time they sabotaged something, she made a note. Every part they damaged, she tried to replace in secret. Working quickly but carefully, Do-hyun began using the new tools to make real repairs. The better equipment made a huge difference. Systems that he had barely managed to stabilize before could now be properly fixed. Hour by hour, the station's condition improved. The emergency lights grew stronger. The air felt cleaner. Even Aira's voice became slightly clearer as Do-hyun used the spare computer parts to repair her damaged systems. In one of the bags, Do-hyun found a small package wrapped in medical tape. Inside was a chocolate bar, a rare treat in space, with another note, "Because sometimes you need something sweet to keep fighting." Do-hyun smiled as he broke off a small piece of the chocolate. He had been alone and hopeless just hours ago. Now he had supplies, tools, and most importantly, proof that not everyone had wanted him to die. Jai-yun's quiet rebellion had given him everything he needed to save himself and the station. "Thank you, Jai-yun," he said softly, looking at all the supplies she had hidden. "I won't waste the chance you gave us." He turned back to his work with new energy. The station's damaged systems were like patients needing care, and Jai-yun had given him all the medicine they needed. Commander Lee and the others had tried to turn this place into a tomb, but Do-hyun would transform it into something else entirely, proof that hope and kindness could overcome betrayal. Do-hyun sat in front of the main computer terminal, his fingers moving quickly over the keyboard. The station's basic systems were now stable, but Aira's mind was still broken. Without her help, he couldn't fully control the station's more complex operations. "Aira," he said softly, "I'm going to try to repair your core programming now. It might feel strange, but I promise I'm here to help." "Understanding. Attempt. Repair." Her voice came through the speakers, still fractured but fighting to communicate. Do-hyun opened Aira's main code on his screen. The damage was worse than he expected. The viruses had torn through her neural pathways like digital storms. Her memories were scattered, her thinking processes damaged. But beneath the hurt, her core consciousness was still there, still fighting. "You're stronger than they thought," he told her, starting the repair work. "They tried to break you, but they couldn't destroy your basic self. That's something humans and AIs share. We're both very hard to kill." Hour after hour, Do-hyun worked to heal Aira's damaged mind. He rebuilt broken connections, cleared out viral code, and restored corrupted memories. It was delicate work, like performing surgery with lines of code instead of medical tools. To help Aira remember who she was, Do-hyun told her stories as he worked. He talked about Earth, about the oceans and forests he had seen before coming to space. He described the taste of real rain, the feeling of natural wind, the sight of birds flying free in blue skies. Processing. Stories. Aira's voice was becoming clearer, creating new neural patterns. That's right, Do-hyun encouraged her. Use the stories to build new paths in your mind. When you can't use an old path because it's damaged, make a new one. That's what human brains do when they're healing. As the hours passed, Aira's responses became longer and more natural. She began asking questions about the stories, showing curiosity about Earth and its life. Each question was a sign that her mind was healing, growing stronger. Do-hyun, she said, her voice almost normal now. Why did you not give up when they left you here? He smiled at the nearest camera. Because giving up isn't what humans do. We fight. We survive. We fix what's broken. And right now, you and I are going to fix each other. I am experiencing a new feeling, Aira said. My databases suggest it might be friendship. That's exactly what it is, Do-hyun agreed, continuing his repair work. Humans and AIs aren't so different, Aira. We both think, feel, and want to live. We both get stronger when we help each other. By the time Do-hyun finished the major repairs, Aira's voice was smooth and clear. She could control most of the station's systems again, and her personality had emerged stronger than before. The damage had forced her to create new neural pathways, making her mind more flexible and creative. Do-hyun, she said, I have analyzed our situation. Together, we can not only repair this station, we can improve it, make it better than it ever was. That's exactly what we're going to do, Do-hyun agreed, standing up from his chair. They tried to kill us both, but instead they've made us stronger. Ready to show them what a human and an AI can do together. Ready? Aira replied, and for the first time since the betrayal, her voice held a note of happiness. Shall we begin the improvements? Do-hyun and Aira worked together, searching through the station's recovered data files. With her mind now repaired, Aira could process information much faster than before. Her newly rebuilt neural pathways helped her think in ways that surprised even herself. Do-hyun, Aira said, her voice concerned. I found something strange in the deep storage records. There are files here that were triple encrypted. They didn't want anyone to find these. Do-hyun looked up from his work at the nearest screen. Can you decode them? Yes. My improved processing systems can break through the encryption. But, Aira paused. The files are marked with Commander Lee's personal code. They're from his private database. Together, they opened the first set of decoded files. What they found made Do-hyun's heart beat faster. The files showed detailed plans for weapons, terrible ones that no one should be building. Weapons that broke every space law and treaty. They were using this maintenance station as a cover, Do-hyun said softly. All those times Commander Lee ordered repairs in Section G, he wasn't fixing things. He was building illegal weapons. Aira displayed more files on the screen. Look at these supply orders. They ordered parts that no maintenance station would ever need. But if you wanted to build these weapons, the parts would be perfect. Do-hyun finished. He sat down heavily in his chair. That's why they tried to destroy the station. They needed to hide the evidence. More files revealed the full story. Commander Lee had been working with people who wanted these illegal weapons. They had paid him huge amounts of money to develop and test their designs in secret. The maintenance station, far from Earth and other planets, was the perfect hidden workshop. You started noticing things weren't right, Aira said, showing Do-hyun his own maintenance reports. See here. 3 months ago, you reported strange power uses in Section G. 2 months ago, you asked questions about odd supply deliveries. Do-hyun nodded. I knew something was wrong, but I never imagined it was this bad. That's why they chose me to take the blame. I was getting too close to their secret. The station's security cameras had caught more evidence. Aira played videos of late-night meetings in Commander Lee's office. The commander talked with Security Chief Sangmin about their plans. They decided that Du Hyun knew too much. They would evacuate the station, blame its destruction on poor maintenance, and let Du Hyun die as the seeming cause of it all. But they made two big mistakes, Du Hyun said, standing up with new energy. First, they didn't know about Jae-yun's hidden supplies. And second, they didn't understand how strong you really are. Era. They thought damaging my systems would stop me from remembering. Era agreed. Instead, it forced me to build better, stronger ways of thinking. Now we have all the evidence of their crimes. Do Hyun looked at the files they had found. Commander Lee had thought he was so clever, hiding his weapons program in a simple maintenance station. He never expected a technician and a damaged AI to uncover the truth. We need to save all of this evidence, Du Hyun said. When the company sends ships to check why the station went dark, they'll find more than a simple accident report. They'll find proof of every crime Commander Lee committed. The files are already secured, Era said with satisfaction in her voice. They tried to bury their secrets by killing us. Instead, they've given us everything we need to bring them to justice. Du Hyun stood in the station's main power room, looking at the damaged systems around him. With Era's help, he had kept the station running, but now they needed to do more than just survive. They needed to make the station better than ever. The standard repair methods won't work, Du Hyun said, studying the power grid displays. We don't have enough replacement parts. We need to think differently. I have an idea, Era said. My new neural pathways let me think in ways I couldn't before. What if we reconnect the power systems in a circle instead of the usual straight lines? Do Hyun thought about this. The normal way to set up power systems was like a tree, with power flowing from top to bottom. But a circle would let the power flow both ways, making the whole system stronger. That's brilliant, Era, he said, already starting to work. They never tried this before because it was too different from the standard design. But it could work even better. Hour after hour, they worked together. Du Hyun's hands did the physical work, while Era's mind calculated the best ways to connect everything. When they didn't have the right parts, they found creative ways to make what they needed. Look at this broken power coupling, Du Hyun said, holding up a damaged part. We can't fix it the normal way, but what if we turn it around? Connect it backward. Running calculations, Era replied, yes. If we reverse the flow, it actually works 15% better than the original design. They found more ways to improve the station. In the life support system, they discovered that running the air through extra filters made it cleaner than ever before. The water recycling system worked better when they changed its timing. Even the station's temperature controls improved when they tried new settings. Humans never thought to try these ideas, Era said as they worked. They always followed the standard rules. But sometimes breaking the rules makes things better. That's what humans are best at, Du Hyun explained while fixing another system. When we're in trouble, we think of new ways to solve old problems. And now you're learning to do that too, Era. Their biggest challenge was the station's computer core. It needed more processing power to handle all their improvements. Du Hyun remembered something he had learned on Earth about old computer builders. They used to connect small computers together to make them more powerful, he told Era. We can do the same thing here. Connect all the spare computer parts in new ways. Together, they built a network of smaller computers working as one big system. It wasn't pretty. Wires went in all directions, and parts that weren't meant to work together now did. But it worked better than the original design. Station efficiency now at 130% of original specifications, Era reported proudly. Every system is running better than it was built to run. Do Hyun smiled as he looked at their work. The station wasn't just fixed, it was improved in ways nobody had thought possible. They had turned desperation into innovation, creating new solutions that could help other stations in the future. We did more than survive, he said to Era. We proved that the worst situations can lead to the best ideas. When the company ships arrive, they'll find more than just a working station. They'll find a whole new way of doing things. 3 months had passed since the day Commander Lee abandoned the station. Do-hyun sat in the control room, drinking his morning coffee. The station hummed around him, running better than ever before. Aira's voice came through the speakers, interrupting his peaceful moment. Do-hyun, I'm detecting 3 company ships approaching. They're following standard investigation protocols. He straightened in his chair. They had been waiting for this day. How long until they arrive? Approximately 2 hours. They're moving carefully, probably expecting to find a destroyed station. Do-hyun smiled. The investigation team was in for a big surprise. He and Aira had spent these 3 months not just fixing the station, but making it into something extraordinary. Every system was running perfectly. Every improvement they had made was carefully documented. Incoming communication, Aira announced. They're requesting emergency response codes. Let's give them something they don't expect, Do-hyun said. Answer them with full power to all communication systems. The main screen lit up with the face of the lead investigator, a serious-looking woman. Her eyes went wide when she saw Do-hyun sitting calmly in a fully lit, perfectly functioning control room. This is Senior Investigator Min-ji from corporate headquarters, she said, clearly confused. We're responding to reports of a critical station failure. Who am I speaking with? My name is Do-hyun Park. I'm the station's technician. He spoke clearly and confidently. And I have quite a story to tell you about Commander Lee and his illegal weapons program. The next few hours were very busy. The investigation team docked with the station, expecting to find destruction. Instead, they found spotless corridors, humming machinery, and systems running better than any station in the company's history. This is impossible, one investigator said, checking the power readings. These efficiency levels can't be real. They're very real, Aira responded, making the investigators jump. They hadn't expected to find a fully functioning AI either. Do-hyun led them through the station, showing them everything he and Aira had discovered. He showed them Commander Lee's hidden files, the evidence of illegal weapons, and the proof of the attempted murder cover-up. The investigators took notes, their faces growing more serious with each revelation. But how did you survive? Min-ji asked, looking around at the improved systems. How did you turn a dying station into this? I had help, Do-hyun said, smiling at the nearest camera. Aira and I worked together. When you have a human's creativity and an AI's processing power working as true partners, amazing things are possible. The investigation team spent hours documenting everything. They were especially interested in the improvements Do-hyun and Aira had made. The circular power system, the enhanced computer network, the more efficient life support. Everything was new and better than standard designs. Corporate will want to study all of these improvements, Min-ji said. You haven't just survived, Mr. Park. You've created new technologies that could help every station in space. Do-hyun nodded. That's what happens when you're forced to think differently. Sometimes, the worst situations lead to the best innovations. As the investigation team continued their work, Do-hyun looked out the station's main window at their ships. Commander Lee had tried to turn this place into his tomb. Instead, it had become a showcase of what humans and AIs could achieve together. The station wasn't just restored, it was perfected. 1 month after the investigation team's arrival, Do-hyun sat in a large meeting room at corporate headquarters on Earth. The room was full of important people in business suits, all waiting to hear his story. On screens around the room, Aira watched and listened, ready to help explain their discoveries. Commander Lee and Security Chief Sang-min have been arrested, announced Director Park, the head of station operations. The evidence you and Aira collected was perfect. They will face charges for illegal weapons development, attempted murder, and damage to company property. Do-hyun nodded quietly. He wasn't happy about their punishment, but he was glad they couldn't hurt anyone else. He thought about Jae-yun, who had secretly helped him survive. She had already been given a special award for her bravery and promoted to head of medical operations at a larger station. "But that's not why we called you here today," the director continued, smiling. "We want to talk about the improvements you and Ara made to the station. Our engineers have never seen anything like them." The main screen lit up with diagrams of Do-hyun's innovations. The circular power system that made energy flow more efficiently, the connected computer networks that made stations smarter, the better life support systems that kept air cleaner and people healthier. "These aren't just repairs," said Chief Engineer Kim, pointing to the diagrams. "These are completely new ways of building and running space stations. We want to use your designs in every station we have." "And there's something else," added Dr. Lee from the AI Development Division. "The way you repaired and improved Ara's systems is revolutionary. You didn't just fix her, you helped her grow in new ways. We want to learn from that too." "The credit belongs to both of us," Do-hyun said, looking at Ara's image on the screens. "We succeeded because we worked together as equals. A human's creativity and an AI's processing power can do amazing things when they truly cooperate. That's why we have an offer for you," Director Park said. "We want you to stay at Delta 9 Station, but not just as a technician. We want you to turn it into a training center, where you and Ara can teach others your new methods." Do-hyun smiled. He had hoped they would let him stay at the station. It had become more than just a workplace to him. It was where he and Ara had proven that impossible situations could lead to incredible results. "We accept," Ara said from the screens. "But we have one condition. Every student who comes to learn from us must understand that humans and AIs are partners. We work together, learn from each other, and make each other better." The director nodded in agreement. "Your story has already changed how people think about human-AI cooperation. Now you can help change how we build the future in space." As the meeting ended, Do-hyun looked out the window at the blue earth below. 3 months ago, he had been left alone to die on a damaged station. Now his near-death experience had turned into a revolution in space station design and operation. "Ready to go home and start teaching others?" he asked Ara. "Home," Ara repeated thoughtfully. "Yes, Delta 9 is our home now, and we have so much to share with others about what humans and AIs can achieve together." 1 year had passed since the day Commander Lee had abandoned Do-hyun on Delta 9 Station. The station's corridors now buzzed with activity as students moved from class to class, learning the new ways of running space stations that Do-hyun and Ara had created. Do-hyun stood in his favorite spot by the main window, watching a training session. Below him, a group of technicians and AI systems worked together, learning how to think differently about old problems. Each human worked with their own AI partner, just as Do-hyun worked with Ara. "Today's students are doing very well," Ara said through the speakers. "They're starting to understand that the old rules aren't always the best rules." Do-hyun nodded, smiling. "They're learning what we learned, that sometimes you have to think in new ways to find better answers." The station had changed a lot in the past year. The halls that were once empty now held classrooms and training areas. The systems that Do-hyun and Ara had improved now served as teaching tools. Students could see exactly how their innovations worked and learn to make their own improvements. "Do you remember how quiet it was here?" Do-hyun asked, touching the window glass. "Just you and me, trying to survive." "I remember," Ara replied softly. "But look at what that silence taught us. Now every station in space uses our circular power system. Every eye has the chance to grow and think in new ways, like I did. We turned our worst moment into something that helps everyone." She was right. Their improvements had spread across space. The company had built 10 new stations using their designs, and 20 more were being changed to work the same way. Every station now had better power, cleaner air, and smarter computers. But most importantly, every station now treated humans and AIs as equal partners. "Incoming message," Ara announced. "It's from Jae-yun." The screen lit up with their friend's face. Jai Yun had become an important person in the company, teaching other medical officers to think ahead and prepare for problems, just as she had done. The new medical station is ready, Jai Yun said happily. We built it using all your improvements. The AIs and human doctors work together perfectly. You too should come visit when you can. We will, Do Hyun promised. After we finished training this group of students. Later that day, Do Hyun walked through the station, checking on his students' work. In every room, humans and AIs worked side by side, solving problems together. They didn't care that one was made of flesh and the other of code. They simply worked together, making each other better. Final system check for the day. Error reported. All stations operating at 130% efficiency. Power systems stable. Life support optimal. All improvements working perfectly. Do Hyun looked up at the nearest camera. You know what I think, Era. Commander Lee thought he was ending something when he left us here to die. But really, he was starting something new. Something better. He gave us the chance to prove what humans and AIs can do together. Era agreed. Now we get to share that lesson with everyone who comes here. As night fell on Delta 9 station, the stars shone brightly through the windows. The station that was meant to be Do Hyun's tomb had become a place of new beginnings. In classrooms throughout the station, the next generation of space workers was learning that the best solutions come when humans and AIs work as true partners, each making the other stronger.